thank you guys all so much for being here. I know that everyone is really busy, with schedules. All of you guys are really talented and really busy. And I'm so glad that, because I asked all of you, I so importantly wanted all of you to be here. And so I think it was important to kind of make time for all of you guys to sit down. And I appreciate this late on a Friday afternoon. I think I was going to say before we started recording, I wanted to get one of these makeup roundtables in early. I think it's so important with, how close you guys are and involved you guys are with the clients. Obviously, every wedding is going to have some aspect of beauty and makeup involved. And so I wanted to make sure that we had a good roundtable discussion about, safety stuff, what you guys are doing, thoughts. And I'm sure there's even lots of stuff that I'm not even thinking about. And you guys are all way smarter about this than I am. So I figured we'll just kind of let you guys have at it. But why don't we start with Anne and just introduce yourself, and we can go around and kind of introduce everyone.
Okay, hi, I'm Ann Timms from Ann Timms Makeup and Hair, real original there. And I'm a stylist. I've been doing this for a very long time. And I don't know, what else do you got to know? That's it. Hey.
And Kat?
Hi, I'm Kat St. John with Kat St. John Makeup and Styling. I've been doing makeup now for 12, 13 years. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for asking me to be on.
And Korrine, you got the special invitation because you defended my podcast online when someone was saying I was shamelessly plugging it. Besides being a longtime friend and the talented artist, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Korrine from Korrine Makeup Artist and Esthetician. I have been a licensed esthetician since 2008, with me being a business owner since 2011. And I just have a really big passion for the wedding industry and everything that goes with it. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Michelle, why don't you say hi? And a recent guest on the Get to Know Your Wedding Pro podcast, we got to sit down and chat. Why don't you say hi?
Oh, yeah, that was so fun. Hi, I'm Michelle Wight. I'm the owner of Michelle Wight Makeup Artistry, and I've been styling for about 15 years.
Awesome. And first off, I just wanted to do kind of a brief check-in. I know we're at the odd time. They had some new guidelines come out yesterday. People are kind of, freaking out about, the guidelines and stuff. But I know you guys all seem still pretty busy. How is everything going so far? How are your couples, just kind of a general check-in? And maybe, Michelle, we can start with you and go back around the other way. Just how are things right now and your couples feeling?
So I feel like I definitely have the either or couple. I have couples who are really wanting to celebrate the way they've always envisioned, and so they are postponing to 2021. And then I have some couples who are like, nope, we're doing it, and fully embracing, all of the things and guidelines and masks and everything that come with it. So there's really no in between. They're either fully in or just waiting it out.
And Korrine, what about you?
Most of my clients are rescheduling or canceling. I just got a cancellation this morning for September 12th. But then I also still have quite a few that are going to wait it out, like my August weddings, and most of my September weddings are still going to wait and see if the guidelines will change. So that's been nice. And I have been staying a little busy, not as busy as I would like to be, but there's still some things happening, which is cool. So,
Kat, how are things going for you?
Well, I'm thankful to have my personal clients. I'll just say that. I have one wedding on the books. Everything else moved to next year or 2022. I did have 2 cancellations completely, but so things are going good. I'm very thankful for my personal clients. They're kind of keeping me afloat and sane because I'm actually working. So,
and you had a busy week. How's everything going for you?
Good. I am in a unique position that really embraced this sort of situation. I specialize in adventure elopements. So I do very, very small, intimate weddings that are in the mountains. So these are weddings that people had been planning on doing. So for me, my books pretty much just doubled. But with that, people are concerned, those coming from out of state. I had a long conversation with a client today who was coming in from Florida, and they're not sure if they're going to make that trip or not. I definitely have had some cancellations, and I also do traditional weddings as well. And like yours, Korrine and Michelle and all of us, those have, for the most part, peeled over to 2021. But I think with the fact that I spend a lot of time in the mountains and driving, just kind of one-on-one situations, it's been okay.
Yeah, it's a weird time because, like you said, we're still getting cancellations. I just sent out a couple like August and September ones today. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll try to schedule them. You know what I mean? I'm almost at the point where it's like, sure, but I'm not gonna, hold my breath if these, we're just kind of sending them. Um, but the reason why I wanted to do this so much is all the weddings that we've had so far since kind of this reopening have been just ceremony on. So, either like ceremony live streams or like through the reception and stuff. We haven't done any getting ready since kind of all COVID, everything. And Amy Soper was on the podcast last week, and she was talking about doing photographing or, not photographing, getting ready, and talking about all the safety stuff, you guys have to take care of. And, whether or not people would want photos of that or, bridesmaids and masks and kind of all this stuff. And so that really kind of got me thinking about all of this. How much has all your guys' thought process changed, since all of this has gone on in terms of like not only your safety, but also the safety of the clients you're working with? And maybe, Anne, we can start and circle back around.
So from a process standpoint of how I work out of like my kit and with everything like that, nothing has changed because I've always had to, and for all professional makeup artists who really take their craft seriously, we have a really strong guideline of hygienic standards that we have to. I keep saying that there's peskier things that can get into your kit and spread from client to client than COVID. There's things that can just completely destroy your business if it gets into your kit. And those are like, all sorts of gross things like herpes and MRSA and staph and things like that. And so we've always taken a really, really, a strong point against that, being prepared for it. The thing that's changed, obviously, is how we protect ourselves. So gloves, N95 masks, face shields, all of those types of things, UV light, sanitation, distance. I'm sure these guys will add a long list to that, but that's a big part of it is really how do we protect ourselves and how do we protect ourselves in a way to build and move from client to client?
Kat, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's, same here. My thinking also is like where I keep my kit, because, 6 feet away. So now I'm kind of like spread out a little bit more. I need a little bit more space. The bridal suite too, thinking about, okay, how many people are going to be in here? You can't be milling about. Please, no food. Do not eat around me. Like all of that kind of stuff where people were just like drinking champagne and having snacks, like all of that. Like I never thought I would have to really manage that, but I have to ask ahead of time, like, please do not eat food around us. Like stay in another room, only limit who is getting styled during that time around us. And just allotting time for sanitation and making sure you have time for turnover. That's a little bit extra time too. So timelines have been pulled a little bit more. So it takes a little more time to get ready. And then also we talked about this on our podcast episode, Anne and I, is that the show, we usually like put things out.
Yeah.
And it's like real pretty, like look at all this stuff, and it's like no longer like that. I'm working out of my bag. I only take out exactly what I need. Each client has their own set of brushes, and I've never been a person that cleans brushes between clients, so that kind of works in my favor. I already have like 300 brushes, but those are kind of the things that I think about.
Korrine, what are you thinking about kind of as we enter all this?
So my sanitation has never changed. I've always scraped out my powders. I've always scooped out my cream products. I've always worked off of disposable palettes and have a clean set of brushes per client. The space, I have to have less than 10 people in my workspace, and that includes the stylist that I bring on and the clientele. But in terms of COVID, I have guidelines that are on my website that they have to approve of. If they do not approve of what is on my website and my guidelines, I do not take them on as a client. Immediately upon entering a space, I'm in all of my PPE gear. So like they know I mean business. And And in terms of, we both wash our hands. When they sit in my chair is covered with a paper palette, like disposable paper. So that's completely covered, and I can switch out between clients. And then I have them self-check for their symptoms, and they have to let me know ahead of time. And other than that, I mean, for the most part, I've kept my kit very clean and sanitized. I have a 3-step sanitation and cleaning process for my brushes. So I think that part hasn't changed. It's just definitely gloves, hand sanitizers readily available. I need a sink that I can wash my hands in between clients. I have to change my smocks in between clients. So there's a lot more to it in terms of that. And then, of course, like our space, like my clients have to come in wearing masks. The masks stay on until I do their lip application and their foundation. And during that process, I ask them not to speak, which that's been my hardest challenge, is to be like, okay, you cannot talk during this part. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And so far, everybody's been really nice about it. So, because they understand that we're super close.
Michelle, what about you?
A lot of the same from what everyone has said. I wasn't really too concerned about sanitation because, just echoing the other stylists, we really have to have your sanitation down anyway. I mean, we're using products on, multiple different people at the same time, and you have to do that, that's always been in practice. But what has not been for me, what I've had kind of a tough time with, I've had 3 weddings since all of this, is being the enforcer of these rules. Especially with weddings that are small, they're already like downsized and they're intimate. So it's like mom and a best friend and a sister. But I have made it so that I am in a separate room and only one-on-one with a client. I don't let anyone else in the room. And so when mom comes in or grandma comes in, I have to just politely remind them, 1, please don't enter without a mask. 2, we really need to keep this space just one-on-one until it's your time. That's really hard for me. I know it's not confrontational, but I'm just like really bad at that. And so but you have to, like, really just to protect the client and protect yourself. I don't want to get sick. I have 4 little kids at home. The last thing I need to do is like touch something. So, and working in PPE is a lot more challenging than I ever anticipated. It gets so hot with a face shield and a mask, and I wear eye protection. You just like, by your 3rd service, I personally was like hot and sweating. It was not as easy as I thought it would be.
Do you guys worry about, your own safety and health? How much of that weighs in it? We just, we're getting into our larger weddings, and I'm trying to figure out like second shooters and stuff to work. And I've had even some of my, people say, hey, I don't really feel comfortable working that, right? And we've had to, obviously respect stuff. Do you guys worry about that? Do you just, do the best you can to protect, and then it's business as normal? I mean, and that, I don't know, it could be, obviously it's a really personal decision which way about it, but how are you guys feeling about that? Kat, do you have any thoughts?
Well, it's always a concern because as we know, like if we were to catch anything and give it to our clients, like I would never want that to happen. But I think my main concern is, and I know that Ann and I have had extensive conversations about this, are people that, for a long time, they'd say, oh, it's just allergies. I have a little tickle in my throat. And then sure enough, like 4 days later, I'm sick. And it's really hard to trust that people are 100% healthy, or maybe they're not showing symptoms. And that's the scary thing about this virus. However, we also need to live our lives and work and make money to pay our mortgage. So it's like this, it's a struggle. So I am concerned about my health, absolutely, but I'm more concerned about my clients' health too. Like I don't want to pass anything on to them. So protecting ourselves, that's the best way to, protect everybody. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's like a right or wrong answer to that, but that's just my personal opinion. So
Korrine, what about that?
Yeah, I'm 100% worried that because COVID is asymptomatic, that is something that I'm a little concerned about. And I have always kind of gone with the theory that anyone who's sitting in my chair could be carrying something, some form of a germ. So that's why I've always kept my kit super sanitary. But COVID, it's just such a tricky virus that I will adhere to the state guidelines and what they're recommending. And, I'm not going to have an argument with my clients. Like, they have to wear a mask the entire time. And I have face shields that I will clip into their hair, so my hairstylists are safe. So it's definitely, I have immunocompromised stylists that work with me. So it's, definitely their choice to work, but their health and our clients' health are my number one top priority.
Michelle, what do you think?
It's really hard. Yes, I am concerned about my health. I just want to go above and beyond to protect clients. But then, like the other girl said, we have to work. Like, we have families to support. So it is a really delicate balance to try and keep everyone as safe as possible, but still basically being, on the front lines and exposing ourselves. I do have stylists who help me as well. And, we've had these tough conversations. Some of them aren't as comfortable working. Some of them rather just like be on an elopement, which I completely understand. I totally respect that, rather than be in a room and, help style a larger bridal party. And that just, it is what it is for now. And whatever anyone's like level of comfort is what I just try and book off of.
And how are you feeling?
Same. I mean, it's challenging. It's, keeps me up at night. I think about it. I think that we just, for me, I just have to move forward and with extreme caution, be extraordinarily cautious about it and use all of the steps and protections I can and have like really good conversations with my clients ahead of time. I let all of them know. It's on my website as well. And it's in a handout that I sent out about, what to expect so that, the stylist doesn't walk up in a spacesuit. I'm like, what the hell? It's really transparent about it, but it has to be a really, open conversation. I, get to like an Airbnb. I haven't done any big weddings since COVID at all. Any of them. I've just done these little bitty elopements, and which has been great. So, but I've walked up to rental situations where people haven't been wearing masks and they're like, oh, should we put them on? I'm like, absolutely. You all need to wear them while I'm here. So everybody, who's there. And what's that?
If you have to ask, like,
I know.
Why are you asking?
I know. But you would be surprised. It's like, it's why we're in the situation we are as a country. It's like, I've walked up to, an Airbnb up on Mount Rainier and there's like 4 people like in their pod of people all running around together. Like, oh, would you like us to put masks on? And like, yes, I would absolutely like you to put masks on and also just stay over there. Let me just do my job here and get out. And yeah, so it's definitely a concern, but like Kat was saying, and Michelle to, just to resonate on that, like we do need to work. We are not in a situation as independent business owners where this country has been generous enough for us to rely on any sort of support and aid to not be working. And that's a very unfortunate part of our government. And I will just leave it right there on the table. But, I know most people cannot survive on anywhere from $200 to $800 a week. It just doesn't, when you have a family of 4 or whatever the case is. So we're kind of backed into a corner as independent businesses that we need to work.
Yeah, when you're talking about the safety stuff, and I had said, I can't remember one of these, I said that we had done one of our first weddings, and the groomsmen are like sharing bottles of champagne and like lighting each other cigars and stuff, and I'm like, that's odd. That's really, that was like odd behavior to see after like living in my house for 4 months, was to walk out and be like, wow, like this is nuts.
Go ahead, Korrine.
Sorry, can I say something like what Reed said? So I think what's hard for me too is, so I did a wedding on July 4th and it was awesome, but like you don't have control over what happens after. you leave. So like I have control over my space, but like after, I don't know if they're going to wear a mask. I don't know if they're going to dance. I don't know, so I just know I can do my part as a vendor, and that's the only thing that I can control. So in terms of like you working with your second shooters, I don't know how strict you have to be to keep your clients and your coworkers safe.
I know, yeah, we're getting to the point where it's like, well, do we document things? I know a lot of photographers have been having that question. And you were talking about, the educating and stuff. Obviously, you guys are all, reaching out to your clients and stuff. Are there things that you're, because obviously this podcast, should be somewhat tailored to, wedding, planning couples that are listening to this. Are there things that you've let them know that they're like totally snowballed about, that like they have no idea, or like educational stuff that they're not even thinking about? Like I know photographers have been emailing about like masks and stuff, and people are like, I didn't even realize that we would have to do that. Have you guys found any sort of not pushback, but just unawareness of safety stuff that you guys are going to have to take?
For me, I haven't, because again, most of my clients are traveling, so a lot of them are getting on planes, or they're just, there's reasons why they're eloping at this point. So I think every time I go through like the checklist with everybody, like they're thankful for it. They appreciate it. I mean, I think the one thing, like I mentioned, is like walking into an Airbnb and they're in their pod group of their Corona pod of people. And they're super comfortable not wearing masks around each other because they've established that, that sort of situation. But for me to come in and ask them to all wear masks, that's the only time that I've had like hiccups. And I will say they've all been like, all of my situations have been like accommodating, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, you're not part of our group. Yeah. And I have to also let them know, I'm like, not just to protect me, but for you to be protected from me. I see a lot of different people, I'm like one of those really single guys in the 70s at this point. Like I see a lot of folks.
In that last statement that you just said, you don't know who's sitting in your chair, what their beliefs are. Like you have no idea what you're going to encounter. And I think that's where you really have to tread lightly. Because some people get really offended really fast. And as makeup artists, we want people to feel good and, we set the tone for the day. So I've had only one or two experiences where they were like, oh, don't wear that mask around me. And I'm like, I'm gonna wear this mask around you. I have to like say, I'm sorry. And then I say, I'm protecting you. This is me because I, see so many clients. I want to make sure that you are taken care of. So when I take that approach, then it's like, it kind of softens the blow. But there are definitely people that have like not wanted me to wear a mask. So
I think that's that aha moment you're asking about, Reed, is kind of like they haven't thought about the fact that their stylist has had other jobs and been around other people before them. So it's kind of like, it's not just me, like I'm working. So, being asymptomatic, you could be, we don't know. This virus is very tricky. It's so many unknowns, and you just can't be too cautious.
Michelle, what do you think?
I think my experience so far, my clients have been very grateful, because I do send out safety policy before so that they can review it and they can ask me any questions beforehand. I think the biggest change that I've seen where, they're not really thinking about it. Usually I'm like in the mix of, the celebrating. So, they're eating and drinking champagne and everyone's in a big room. And so to ask, like, we need to have our own separate space. We are not going to be in a communal room. Like, everyone can't be together while we're doing hair and makeup. It's one-on-one. That has just been like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, but no problem. Well, so they've been very understanding, but it was really helpful to send out those guidelines beforehand.
And Korrine, what about you on this one?
I definitely communicate with my clients prior to booking, and then they get an email when they sign their contract with my policies for COVID. And then right before their appointment, they have to fill out my liability form that my insurance wants them to fill out. But I think the hardest part is when you're going to people's houses to get ready, because it's completely different than being in like in a hotel or an Airbnb, like when you come in and you're in your full PPE gear and they're in their house, and then you're like, oh, can you wear a mask? They're kind of like, oh, yeah, I probably should. But they're like, this is still my house. So that's been kind of the hardest part for me, is to be like, you know, even though we're in your house and you feel like your house is safe, it's not safe for me. I still have to be in my PPE gear to protect you, because I have been around people, and I can't quarantine if I can't do a job and then quarantine for 2 weeks. Like, that's unrealistic. So I think that's been like the hardest part, is you're going into their personal space and then you're telling them, hey, you need a mask, you need to be, you know, washing your hands, and, you know, you have to clean your table in front of me. And they're kind of like, okay, yeah, she means business. So, but, you know.
Yeah, it's just where the people aren't thinking that we had I guess it was in the Lomit, whatever, a small wedding yesterday, and they had emailed me and they said, hey, you know, we're gonna get ready, or can you are you gonna have an assistant or something? Do you think someone could pick up the bride and bring her to like where we're getting ready? And I'm like, absolutely not, like absolutely not in like a million years. But I'm like, also, like, you wouldn't want to get in my car, right? Like, I wouldn't want, you know, and they, you know, they recommend against that just anyway, right? For like liability and insurance and stuff. Like, absolutely, like right now, it's like, absolutely not. Like, this is not, like, I'm really sorry. Like, I hate to say no on your wedding day, but like,
Yeah.
you know, but you just don't think about that kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, Korrine, you were talking about having people, you know, fill out and sign, you know, the liability. Is anyone else? Are you guys having people do that? Is that something? I know that photographers have been having people sign waivers, you know, like if they're going to have to post people or whatever. Are you guys? Is that something?
Yes. So I have been. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I've enough. You can.
we'll get both in. Michelle, go ahead.
Okay, I do have them sign a waiver. When I am doing trials, so both at trial and then day of, and then if they have a bridal party, or if it isn't even really a bridal party now, it's mostly like family, like mom, grandma, sister. Everyone needs to sign a waiver.
Mm-hmm.
And Kat?
I don't have a waiver. I have it in my contract. So they have to sign off that they acknowledge that from the very beginning. And then I have it in my prep information. So it's included. So I don't necessarily have a waiver, but it is included in my contract that states, like, I acknowledge these things, so on and so forth.
Is that new stuff that you've added in since all this?
Yep. And cancellation policies related to COVID.
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the weddings are, you know, downsizing now, or, you know, and like, Anne, I know that that's kind of your specialty, but I do think that, like, luckily, you know, at least for me, there's been an uptick in, you know, people wanting videography and like live streaming, because a lot of people can't come. But, you know, maybe people are thinking like, well, it's small, you know, we can cut out the makeup, or like, we don't need that. Like, how are you guys, how do you sell that, right, to that service, to make sure that even if you are doing, I mean, a micro wedding or an elopement or whatever, how do you sell that you still want to have, you know, safe and professional, you know, hair and makeup come in? What does that conversation look like? And I know that a lot of you guys specialize in that, so maybe you already have spiels. I don't, you know. And go for it. What's your spiel?
Like how I'll approach it, like, safely?
Well, just that if people are thinking about scaling back and like cutting that, and why is it important to still make sure that you have, you know, someone safe and professional coming in to do, you know, your makeup, and not trying to have a friend do it or DIY or, you know, whatever.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I mean, I think that's a conversation that I have, COVID or not COVID.
Exactly.
Like, don't hire your friend to do your makeup. They probably will not be good at it. Like, they're probably good at their own makeup, but, like, you know, having a career where you do a bajillion different faces is a different skill. So I honestly, I don't have a great answer for that. I work with a really great network of people who support me and share my name around, and I think my work speaks for itself. And I don't know, honestly, I'm not the best person to answer that. I get the inquiries and I answer them, and I'm like, hey, I'm available or not. But I don't try to talk anybody into makeup. Like that's like, if you don't want makeup, don't get makeup. I actually try to talk most couples out of hiring makeup for engagement photos. I'm like, do your own makeup. You should look like yourself. Like, you don't need me for it. I know. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I love engagement. I love engagement shoots.
I mean, it's great. I don't mind doing them, but I feel like that's a whole other conversation. I just feel like you should just look like yourself. You don't need like all the big hair and makeup, but I do them. But you know, when people ask me like, I don't know, I was thinking about hiring makeup. I'm like, are you good at doing makeup? Your own makeup? And they're like, I'm pretty good at it. I'm like, just do your own makeup. But, yeah, I don't know. I just take a different approach to all that. I am going to be the last person who's going to try and talk somebody into hiring me. Like, you just want to hire me.
Hiring me anytime.
Yeah, Kat, let's take this on, Kat.
Why can't you take it?
Okay, here's the thing. Invest so much money in your photographer. Like, you're spending thousands of dollars to have these beautiful photos taken of you. Why would you not hire a makeup artist that knows how product translates on camera, who can make you look your absolute best, who can make you relax on your wedding day? There are so many things to think about. And my biggest one is I will honestly say from experience, because I got married 14 years ago before I knew that makeup artistry on site was like even a thing, is I wish that I could have sat down and not had to think about that. Because there's a million other things that we need to think about on our wedding day. So there's that. And just the basis of like investing so much money in your photography. You should look your best. Even if it's not your bridesmaids, you should look your best.
Oh, I agree with you on that part of the topic. Yes. Like, anybody who spent like $1 on a photographer or maybe more, like, you should have hair and makeup. But I'm just saying, if someone comes to me and they're like, well, I don't know, I was thinking about hair and makeup, like, I'm not gonna put a lot of effort. I will explain why, but like, I'm not gonna get out the, buy my Toyota sale and get you to hire me. It's like, I don't know.
Well,
Moving on.
My thought process was, the safety and knowledge that you guys are bringing in, maybe too, and how that would translate. Where if even if it was going to be a smaller wedding or whatever, you would still want someone with the same level of expertise coming in, for safety and stuff like that. Does anyone else want to tackle that and kind of parlay what I was talking about?
So I like to put. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. He didn't give a name.
Yeah, the one time I throw it out.
I blog. So I tend to put all of those things out into the universe through my blog. Usually when I'm finally in contact with a client, it is already through an inquiry. So they are already seeking hair and makeup. But I mean, I definitely put in my 2 cents of why it's important, especially now more than ever. I've talked about it a lot on Instagram and Insta stories. Picking your friend to do your hair and makeup for your micro wedding might not be the best idea before COVID, and definitely not after COVID. And this is why. And I'll just list, like, mostly because of safety reasons, sanitation. They're using their own products from their makeup bag probably. So it's definitely things I've blogged about, but I haven't had a one-on-one conversation with a client.
Korrine?
Well, I think that kind of goes with, there was a wedding planner who was trying to help a bride, and they were trying to figure out if the makeup artist should have insurance and be licensed. And I'm pretty sure we all commented on it. But I know Kat did. But the thing is,
away from the group. Sorry.
No. Well, I know Kat did. When you are insured and you have your business licenses and you're doing things correctly, then you will be hiring somebody who's going to take your health and safety seriously. And they're going to take the extra precautions to keep you safe. And I think during COVID, to talk to brides about that and say, you want to hire somebody with all their ducks in a row, I think is super important, because we will take your health seriously. We're going to make sure that we, are sanitizing in between. We're going to make sure that our brushes are all clean. We're going to take those extra steps that maybe a makeup artist who's not got insurance or all their licensing or whatever is maybe not going to do. So I think safety is definitely an important topic when you're talking to brides about why it's important to hire a makeup artist during the 2020 COVID pandemic. So
That was good. Thank you for that. What if I'm someone that's still planning to get married this year? What do I need to be thinking about from, setting that, myself up best for success, setting up, my makeup artist best for success, on the wedding day? What are things that I should be working for and trying to plan? And Kat, we'll start with you on this one, just because.
Okay, can you ask that question one more time? Sorry. I'm trying to understand the question so I can answer appropriately.
If I'm planning the wedding this year, what do I need to do to ensure to have the best success for, you to be able to do your job, for me to get married as it relates to getting my, beauty stuff done for the wedding day? What could I help provide for you? What do I need to keep thinking about as I'm developing my plan? Do I need a longer timeline? Do I need, like you guys are talking about, having separate spaces for getting ready? All these different things. What are some, tangible things that people can take from this and say, okay, these are 3 or 4 or 5 things that I need to, be thinking about now as I'm planning my wedding, as it relates to you guys in this roundtable?
I would say, I think just simply asking what each artist need, because I think it's going to depend on how many people are there, where you're getting ready. I mean, I know that for me, if somebody asks me what I need from them, then I'll be able to dissect and say, okay, well, I need to know where you're getting ready. What does it look like? How many people do you have? Like, what's the situation look like? And then I can really kind of put together an idea of exactly what I would need. I'd say first things first, please have an open space that's away from everyone and a tabletop for me to work on. Do not make me work in a bathroom. I am not going to work in a bathroom. It's disgusting. Sorry. That does happen. People say, oh, you need to get in the... I'm like, where are you going to go to the bathroom? I'm not getting out of the bathroom to have people use it around my stuff. It's just weird. But yeah, I think I think just them asking, because I don't actually get that question. I have to sit there and tell people, like, these are the things that we need to think about. And I might be missing something. So I think it's great for them to open up that dialogue.
Korrine, what about you?
I definitely need a separate workspace that is big enough for the bridal party and whoever I am bringing on, because I only do makeup. That usually means that we have two people working an event. So we need 6 feet of space for each of us. And then a place to wash our hands. So like a kitchen sink or a bathroom or something that we can wash our hands, and definitely extra time, because we do have to change our smocks in between clients now. And other than that, I would say, like, those are my main. Oh, everybody wearing masks. That's the other one. So if she has to provide those for them, or if I provide them for them, everybody needs a mask.
Michelle, what about you?
Really just echoing the same, that everything that the girls have said. I have sort of just like safety protocols that I've been sending out to booked clients and future clients, just so that they have an idea of what to expect. And it's just really making sure that we have a safe place to get everybody ready. I'm definitely not going into a bathroom. That is so gross. And I can't even believe that I've ever done that, because it definitely has happened in like hotel suites and things. You don't really think about it, but now definitely not. So just setting up an expectation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same things. It's just, I also think that brides really need to really think about is, should you be getting married this year? As much as I love working as a stylist in this industry, like, is this really the best decision for your life and for everybody around you? Like, is this really that important? And for some people it is, and I get it. And those are the ones that we're here for. But, I think people need to really step back and look at like what they had envisioned. Is it make sense to do it this year? And understand that our rules and our laws in Washington and as a country are changing every single day. Right now, with the new regulations from Governor Inslee, it's no more than 5 people in a social group starting Monday for phases 1 and 2, and phase 10 or phase 3, it's no more than 10 people. which doesn't apply to weddings and funerals, but that can change. So I think that people really need to like really sit down and think about all of these kinds of things before they even really approach like, you know, moving forward on any wedding planning. I really feel like that. And I know that's hard to say because this is our livelihood, but at the same time, like this is our humanity and these are our lives, these are our families' lives, and these are the lives of other people. So that's what I really think about it.
No, it's because I was talking with Dorothy last night because she came home and I was watching that press conference and everything. I'm like even explaining it to my wife that's like married to a wedding videographer, and she's like, "Wait, I don't know if that really makes like the most sense." And I was like, I know, like I can't, but I also wasn't the one that like fought for that I don't. It's so tough because you're like, well, obviously we have to do what we need to do now that you can, and But yeah, I was like, I don't know. I didn't make the rules. I'm just trying to drive the speed limit.
Yeah. And it's hard because, for all of us, like we can't socially distance at all. And we are putting ourselves in just as much risk as people who are working on the front lines are. Not just as much, but we're in that same risky category as, with all of that, like, close quarters and touch and, all of that. And is it really worth it? Like, I personally had a COVID scare. I had a dental appointment recently and my dentist tested positive and it was really scary and I don't have it, but it really made me step back and think like, do I really need to go in and get my nails done? I really don't. I don't need to like do these little risks that, just for what? Like the risks that are important are the things that, you have to do to get by in life. But it just kind of put things into a bigger perspective that I feel like we're in a really, we're in a very dangerous spot and we have to really think about those things. And for some people getting married this year, it is important, they have family who want to see them marry and maybe someone that won't be around for a long time. And there's really great reasons, all sorts of reasons why. But I don't know.
Anyone else have thoughts on that?
I mean, I preemptively, I just asked all of my brides if their weddings were still happening and that they needed to let me know by a certain time. And I guess I don't do as many big weddings. I usually will do like bride only or bride plus 3. And honestly, I do more helping on weddings than I do book them. Let's be real. But for me, I think part of it is not even like, do you want to get married this year? Is it worth the risk? You have people flying in from out of town. Do you want them to go and buy their ticket and then have to cancel every single thing? So you have to think about all those people investing all that money, all that time, all that travel, only to cancel it at the last minute. And I feel like that's really risky, but some people are willing to do that, and maybe they don't have family coming in from out of town. And like you said, Anne, maybe they have a family member who's sick, or their grandparents have, like they're old and they want to have this memory with them. So there's just a lot to think about, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. I think everybody's situation is completely different. We have different clients. Yeah.
Korrine?
I think it depends too on how flexible their other vendors are being if they cancel. I have a lot of brides who are like, my venue is not being very flexible, and I think puts them in a very tough spot to either continue on until it's an absolute no, or they're just going to cancel and then they lose out on their their deposit or whatever. So I think a lot of my clients are sitting and thinking, okay, we have all of these vendors scheduled and booked, and I have to now talk to all of them to see what their cancellation policy is and see what we've got to do. So for me, I'm being super flexible, but I know that other vendors can't, or, they're in a tough spot. So
I'm with you, Korrine. I've been like, what can I do for you? I want to be known as the vendor who I just keep saying, none of us asked for this. Like, what can I do? Are we postponing? Are we canceling? I've had clients from out of town who canceled. I've given them a full refund. I don't have to, but I've done it just because I feel like it's the right thing to do. But I definitely know what you're talking about. I have heard again and again and again about venues being the most difficult to work with, not being forgiving, not moving dates, giving them really tiny windows to schedule dates for the next year. That's definitely challenging. Reed, you need to do a venue show.
We did. I assumed you would listen.
No, sorry, I didn't. I'm busy.
I know. Michelle, I wanted to give you a chance to talk on this one before we move to the next topic.
Oh, I think it's definitely situational. And I really feel for our vendor community because hair and makeup is, definitely not the same as a venue. We can go to a private home or we can have these smaller elopements or just pivot our business a little bit differently. And these venues are being hit so hard. So I kind of feel for them. I feel for both the client and the vendors. But yeah, it's just so tricky, right? Luckily, I have been very proactive and reached out to just kind of gauge where our clients are right now. And I would say 70% have canceled their venue and they're getting married in a private home or like a parent's backyard or, outside somewhere in a private residence. So, and I'm like, oh man, I'm glad that they want to get married. People still want to get married. That's the thing. They still want to celebrate and get married. And even though it looks different and, I'm here to support that, but it definitely is hard.
Yeah, just when you guys were talking about the risk and everything, we were supposed to do a live stream tonight for just like a last minute elopement, just tiny, like 6 people. And the groom has cancer, like secondary, second state, whatever cancer. And his father just called yesterday and said that the groom has an 11-year-old daughter and that they were afraid that she had COVID, that they had to take her in for a test. Right. And so it's like, obviously, it puts everything and you're like, wow, like the risks come from everywhere. Right. And what if we had done that wedding and, the groom got sick or we got sick or she got worse or, you don't know. And so it's like even that where, and this was literally like within 24 hours, last night of when it was going to be tonight. And you're just like, wow, like that, that could happen to each and every person, at every wedding, we're not that far off from that.
Right.
One more, it seemed like for a little while we were kind of going back to weddings and, we were talking this much about like reschedulings and cancellations and stuff. I know, Anne, you said you've been pretty flexible with that. How are, the makeup artists, like, how is that community? How are you guys handling? And obviously I know it's different on a case by case, but just a kind of a general like overview of how is that working? If I'm getting married and I have to reschedule with you guys. And Anne, unless you have anything else, we can start with Kat on that one.
I am offering their deposit to be transferable and I do not raise my rates. Every year we kind of have to raise our rates. Like this year I've had to raise my rates because of my PPE. But they can still have the same rate as before. I transfer their deposit if I'm open. If I'm not open, I'm happy to refund the deposit, or if I know the makeup artist and I found the makeup artist, because sometimes we will do that. I know Anne and I both have a network of people, and sometimes, we'll ask around, and if we know that person, we can just transfer that, to the next makeup artist as their deposit. Obviously, there are dates that we might not be open. And so I think just being flexible and trying to work with the client as best you can, because I don't think anyone really knows the right way to deal with it. I mean, the right way to deal with it is just to be kind and flexible and, don't keep someone's deposit. I just think that that's kind of not okay. But I know we're all suffering. Like, we are financially in a place where we're losing work. And so I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want to keep the deposit because, they need to, that date is no longer available. But I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. Everything's transferable. I just try to make it easy, even like as easy as like me finding another makeup artist that I trust that's available on that date. So they don't have to start from square one.
Michelle, what about you?
So yeah, this has been really tricky. I have also done transferring of deposit to whatever their postponed date is. And kept the same rate for the following season. I was actually in a really hard situation. When we were still in lockdown, I had a client who was really pushing for her hair and makeup trial to happen. And I was just like trying to explain so kindly, we're not legally allowed to open. Like, I'm not going to be able to have your trial in the state, even though I know we chatted about it. And she decided to go with another stylist. And that was her decision. But you know, she did want her deposit back, and I decided not to give her deposit back, because we did end up opening, and it was for an elopement, and I wasn't willing to break the law just to have a trial. And so I didn't feel like, you know, it was fair to be let go because of that. So I think it's definitely situational, but for all of my postponements, yes, if I'm not available, they get their full deposit back. And if I'm available, I just transfer their date over.
Good for you for holding your ground on that.
That's good. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It was hard.
Korrine, on that?
Yeah, I'm definitely doing exactly what Kat and Michelle are doing. I am transferring their non-refundable booking fee to their new date. And actually, I have decided for any future dates who are booking in 2020 that I'm not even going to take a deposit. I'm just having them sign a contract because I'm so tired of refunding people, which I know sounds really bad, but I'm just like, I'm so over it that I'm like, I would rather just do the work. And I think the contract is enough. And because 90% of the time it's getting canceled. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I know it's probably not the best way, but it is what it is. So any client that is transferring to 2021, I am giving them a chance to use their booking fee for that. And then anybody who has to cancel, they're getting a refund of their booking fee that they have already paid. And that's just kind of how it's going.
Yeah, no, I think I was saying that before we started recording that. Yeah, I send out 2 contracts today, and I'm like, I don't really care if you guys pay the deposit. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see in 2 weeks. It's like I'm either going to work or I'm not. But I know it's tough, like you guys said. I think, you know, with the venues and everything, I do think for a long time there has been kind of they've really ruled the roost, right? Venues and being able to really dictate a lot of scheduling and availability and pricing and stuff. And you know, I think that mentality is carrying over when it comes to trying to reschedule and stuff. But no, it's tough. I know I have a wedding that I just found out, you know, they have a lawyer looking through all the cancellation contracts because, you know, they're deciding to cancel and not wanting to work and not wanting to downsize and not wanting to postpone and not wanting to do whatever. And at least today, right now, there's nothing that's stopping them from getting married. And I know that it's not the wedding that anyone really thought it was going to be a year and a half ago, but that's just the truth of it. And so, you know, but I just, you know, whatever, a couple of days ago, they're like, oh yeah, you know, the lawyer's looking through everything and we'll get in touch. And you're like, okay, you know, I guess we'll see how that winds up. But that, you know, it's I think, like you said, we're all trying to be as flexible as we possibly can. And so it's tough. You have to ask your couples to be flexible too. And when there's no flexibility there, it is a little tough.
Yeah, I will say I've had weddings that have canceled this year under circumstances where they could have had them, and I haven't returned the reservation fee. I'm not going to. Because these are the weddings that I've put a lot of work into. I've been working with these clients for a year. I book like a year out on, you know, prime Saturdays. I've done a lot of legwork, and the clients are super understanding about it too. They're like, you know, so far they have been like, and they've just been like, you know, we understand that you need to be paid fairly for the work that you've already put in on our wedding with scheduling and coordinating. And I do a lot of style consultations and things like that, like well in advance of ever meeting the client. So I haven't for that, but I've fallen in line with everybody else on everything, like rolling everything over, no additional fees, you know, that kind of stuff.
I will add something though. I had to email somebody because I'm no longer taking bride only or small weddings next year. Because I have to, we're not making up for any of the product that we're not probably going to go through, PPE costs and all of that. And so I think the only difficult conversation I've had is I've had to just say, hey, I do have a minimum and we need to meet that minimum in order to book. So then I have to hold my ground on that.
Yeah,
but that's a business standpoint.
That was going to be my other question to you earlier, was you were talking about, having to, adjust pricing because of PPP or PPE use. Is that something else anyone has had to look into or implemented yet? Or Korrine, you're nodding your head.
Oh yes, it's so expensive. So I did raise my rates to reflect that. Obviously the brides that have had the contract where my old rates were, they're still getting honored. But yes, I definitely had to raise my rates a bit because it's a lot. I mean, face shields are expensive. You're going to go through those pretty quickly. Gloves are expensive. Smocks, I've spent so much money on smocks. Cleaning products are expensive. So yeah, you do have to raise your rates to kind of make up for that.
Michelle, you're on the move.
I know. Sorry, I was trying to answer the door.
That's okay.
Incognito.
Anyone else with adjusted costs for that for PPE use?
Yeah, I've just patted it in. Same thing. It's expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. I have like a $500 order showing up any day now. It's crazy.
That's the most depressing purchase ever. When you're like, oh, I just spent $500 and it's all a gallon of alcohol, a bunch of disposables, gloves, and masks.
Yeah.
Yes. Is it? I mean, I don't even, we just have to, focus on masks and stuff. Is that something, I mean, you said, not prohibitively expensive, but I mean, definitely like outside the realm of what you guys would normally be spending per wedding. Like, is that a 10% more cost per wedding, 20% more cost? I mean, you guys tell me. I mean, I have no idea.
I raised my rates $20 to kind of help with the cost of PPE gear. So far I've spent, I don't even want to know, or I don't even want to disclose how much I've spent on PPE stuff. So yeah, it needed to get a little raised. Not astronomically, but a little bit.
I think that seems like about right, like $20 a person. Like, because the KN95 mask is like, depending on where you buy it, they're like $5, $5 to $10. The shields are $5 to $10. Gloves, all that kind of stuff. Sanitizer, the chair covers, all those things. They add up.
I've implemented a $25 PPE surcharge, and it's clearly indicated. I've done it for all of my personal clients, and and all of them kind of question me, and then I tell them exactly how much money I'm spending. And I also buy masks for other people because I don't trust people. I love you, but I don't trust you because I don't know you. And so I have a whole masks on hand to give away. And I am not kidding you. So many people show up without a mask. And so we also have to be prepared in that sense too. So not only are we purchasing things to keep us safe and our jobs, nice and sanitary, but to also be prepared for somebody that is not prepared.
Michelle, any thoughts? The cost of increasing because of the use of PPE?
I have not. I raised my rates last season, and so I didn't raise my rates to cover PPE. It is expensive. I didn't have the price per person breakdown, but now I'm definitely gonna want to look into that a little more. I just bought everything I needed for what I thought could help me finish out the season. So.
Sounds good. Well, I really appreciate your guys' time today. I know it's not always the most fun topic. A lot of these aren't necessarily the most fun topics, getting these fun groups of people together, and sometimes it's a little bit of a downer. Is there anything else that because I'm the dummy here, right? Is there anything else that I haven't asked about, or that you think is important, or anything else? Obviously we'll do like a final thought goodbye, but just any other large topics or anything that you think is important if I'm a couple planning a wedding right now to get married this year. No.
I think you asked all the solid questions.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay. Why don't we do a final, final thought, goodbye. We'll include everyone's, websites and everything and all that information, but final thoughts, Michelle, we'll start with you and circle back around and we'll give Anne the final word because I think Anne seems like she'll want to have the final word. I just teasing. Michelle, go for it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. This was super fun. I love doing podcasts. So anytime I get to join, thank you. You can find me on at mlwmakeupartistry.com or on Instagram, also mlwmakeupartistry.com. And yeah.
Perfect. And thank you. And Korrine?
Thanks, Reed, for having us on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And just stay safe. And I'll see you hopefully soon for an event.
Cal, what about you?
Well, thank you for having me. I love doing podcasts too. We have, it is beauty based, and you can find me. I am probably the least professional handle of all of you. It is Ms. Kitten, ms.kitten. I've had it for a long time. I'm not getting rid of it. But it's so nice to makeup artists, and it's nice to see some familiar faces. Korrine, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Anne, why don't you talk about your podcast too before we go? You and Kat's podcast.
Oh, Kat and I have a weekly beauty podcast. Comes out every Thursday, everywhere you can listen to podcasts. It is called Beauty Tips and Bullshit, and it's a beauty podcast, and just all about the lives of our working makeup artists and interviews and all sorts of fun stuff, product reviews, beauty news. Last week we covered the scandalous Jeffree Star and Morphe breakdown. It was very fun. So
backing on that, just really quick, I just want to say our focus is positivity. We don't.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's very much like things we love, things we use, like what we're up to, but we do not trash product. Just not.
Yeah, we don't do bad reviews. We don't have time for that. But final thoughts. I don't know. Keep it safe, you guys. Just if you're going to get married, be safe about it. And really just have the people that you love closest with you and embrace the new reality of weddings, or wait till you can have the big old shebang with the fireworks send off and all the kisses and the dancing, because that's fab too. We love that. So, but thank you, Reed, for having me on. It's always fun to hang out with you and have you give me lots of shit, and I appreciate you.
And just for God's sake, wear a mask. I don't know if you guys saw this morning. I was watching. It's like the two surfer bros on like Venice Beach trying to hand out like the mask. Kat, have you seen that?
This morning or yesterday, I posted it.
Yeah, I probably saw that. I was like, this is the funniest thing. Brother Margaret, I'm like, I guess he doesn't want to wear a mask. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's
right.
So
Google that. Google what is it? Surfer bros handing out masks or something like that.
Yeah, it's a beach somewhere in California.
Yeah,
that's all I remember.
Fun.
Well, thanks again. This has been an episode of Best Made Weddings. If you have a question for a future topic, you can go to www.bestmadevideos.com/survey, and we have everything kind of broken down. If you are someone that's listening and you have a specific vendor question, and we'd love to incorporate those into future episodes of the podcast. And thank you guys again so much, and I hope everyone stays safe. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.